getting ready to do a video. This is going to be actually a video response to Clint Clark, a gentleman who has took it upon himself to pose a question on the Canadian Libertarian Facebook page, asking me to respond, given my opinions regarding a topic that's close to his own heart, which is regarding the missing and murdered Aboriginal women issue. Well, here's his question. What's your take on the missing and murdered Aboriginal women's issue? I'm an Aboriginal man, somewhat skeptical of this justice movement. To me, it has more to do with the implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations, 94 of them, some that have nothing to do with Aboriginal people. Could you give your take on this? Thank you for your work. Hope to be more like you. God bless. Now, Clint, I'm going to tell you right now that I'm going to give you my honest, unbiased, completely objective opinion regarding the topic. And I'm going to first preface anything I got to say with telling you that I don't have all the answers. I don't know everything. Matter of fact, I'll even admit that I haven't dug deeply into this particular topic, nor do I think, even if I did, would I really be able to give you the kind of answer that could be so clear and cut with picking one side over the other and telling you what I think about the whole subject, right? In reality, because I am not there in these meetings, you know, I'm not a politician. I'm not privy to all the, you know, all that happens. So without having any full understanding of the narrative coming from all sides wholly, it's basically impossible for me to give you a fully objective, honest, and unbiased opinion regarding that particular topic. But what I will do is give you my objective truths and reasoning and logic regarding the macro aspect of that question. So let's start off. Well, first of all, when we're talking Aboriginals, for the most part, their particular system of governance before the white man landed was predominantly communist in nature, right? All about the community, all about, you know, just think about it. All tribes of all the First Nations people, the Aboriginals, there was the chief, you know, the band council. So as much as a lot of people try to talk about, you know, Western white people bringing democracy or capitalism to the Aboriginal people as a means to oppress them, I mean, they were already oppressed. The honest truth of it all is all peoples around the world, there's always been some method, means, or measure used by the smartest people in a particular group to form a narrative of forced collectivism or subjugation that places them at the top and the rest of the people as the subjects underneath them. The First Nations people were not exceptional in any way, shape, or form of being, you know, fully, like, when they talk about communism as this ideal that they try to set forth, although that's the thing, you can never implement that particular ideal because it means using force and coercion, right? But their whole thing was that communism was, you know, nobody owned land. It was communally owned, right? So nobody actually, like a First Nations person, didn't own the property themselves. It was owned by the community. They just got to live in that particular area because they were part of the community. White men, not all white men, but property rights, as most people recognize and understand, and they might hate it, love it, or anywhere in between, but most people at least recognize that it was your typical Anglo-Saxon white males, white men, the white races, that acknowledged and respected property rights. And property rights, so just like myself, my body, my mind, this is my property, this is me. Nobody owns me. To own me means that I'm a slave. But it also can be translated to my property. So my body is my property, but if I use the property of my body, my hands, my legs, my core, my strength, my muscles, my intellect, if I use all of those properties, all those attributes to build something, well, that is also my property, right? Because I brought that into creation, to fruition, as a result of my labor, of my intellect. So just like in the natural order of things in the animal kingdom, that's another thing actually I want to talk about is, and I don't want to get too far off course, but when people talk about property rights and they talk about it from just the human aspect, it baffles me the fact that they completely ignore these people, and especially a lot of the leftists. They completely ignore the reality of the animal kingdom that has no central authority or central command, central powers. There's no dictator in the animal kingdom, but yet you'll recognize that property rights exist even in the animal kingdom. How does an animal gain possession of a particular piece of land? Grasslands, flatlands, plateaus, plains, mountains, whatever the topographic or geographical area that they happen to inhabitate. All animals claim a certain geographical area that is their own. Now they have to defend that, of course. And there are opposing forces that constantly try to invade and negate those property rights. But every animal, in order to survive or sustain their living, have to have the ability to lay claim to food sources and natural resources. Otherwise, they would just succumb and die, and there would be, nature would cease to exist. So natural property rights are as natural as breathing. So that right there tells you that when it comes to communism, the denial of property rights, which is entrenched in the communist ideology, well, right away you know that's a failure already. It's already a failure. Every human, every animal, every plant, every living thing on this planet has natural property rights. A tree growing on a particular parcel of land in that particular soil has claimed rights to that soil. To cut off its ability to use that soil, to use the rainwater, to use the nutrition in that soil, to nurture itself, to grow and to flourish, is to deny life itself. So denying property rights is literally to deny life itself. So that's the first thing when it comes to dealing with Aboriginal issues, which is why they were very easily conquered by, not by people like myself, but by the power-hungry control freaks and sociopaths that came to this country. Now, some of them were, some of the people, that's the thing, you can't paint everyone with the same broad brush when it comes to that, because some of the Western people that come, or the people of Europe that came to North America, not all of them came to conquer. Some of them probably genuinely just wanted to figure out a way how they could cohabitate and coexist peacefully with the Aboriginal people. But because the Aboriginal people did not recognize the people coming into the country, the white man coming in, did not recognize them of having any claim to any property, I believe that played a huge role in a lot of the fucking conflicts that happened back in the day. So let's not forget this. As much as the white man always seems to want to be the one that's the go-to, let's let's point our fingers at them. Now, some rightfully deserve that finger point. Matter of fact, they deserve a whole lot worse. But there are many, I would imagine, a great deal of this, because I'm one of them, and I guarantee many of my past generations, my forefathers, were of the same mentality, that they just wanted to get away, escape the oppression of old world Europe to come to a land where that wasn't so entrenched. But what allowed the white man to flourish and conquer North America so much was the fact that the Aboriginal peoples that lived here, for the most part, not all, mind you, but they seemingly were unwilling to share or recognize natural property rights. They felt that they had the power to control an entire, I mean, think about Canada, how big and how vast of a country it is. Or the entire continent of North America. To suggest that the Aboriginal or the First Nation peoples had a legitimate claim on that entire landmass without actually doing anything with that particular landmass, that's complete bullshit and goes against the very true fundamentals and principles of just nature. That's what we're talking about. That's first and foremost. Now, another aspect. Not that I'm a defender of crony capitalists, fascists, socialists, or any form of forced collectivism, democracy, right? But let's be honest. Another aspect is these cronies, these fascists, these socialists, these parasitical control freaks and sociopaths, well, yeah, they obviously were much better masters. Not that I would ever agree that anybody needs a master, or that a master is even something that's legit. But yeah, just like with a dog trainer, just like people that train seals and dolphins, some are better than others. And apparently, the ancestral European, or the descendants of those, were much better masters. They figured out a better way. They figured out a way to use psychological mastering instead of physical mastering, which gave them the ability to be able to invade and conquer many lands that were communally owned, especially in North America. So, I mean, you can get mad of the fact, or you can say, that white people of some sort were the ones that were so oppressive. But in reality, if your particular masters, your tribe's chiefs, right, the leaders in your particular community, if they had higher standards, capabilities, and showed more, or gave their peasants, their slaves, more confidence, capabilities, well, you would have been able to send the white man a packing back to Europe, back across the pond. That didn't happen, did it? So don't be sore losers. And like I said, I'm not cheerleading for the masters of old just because they defeated your masters, but I'm just pointing out the obvious. And when it comes to missing Aboriginal women, I mean, where do you think that all comes down to? When you have any culture, especially all the collectivist cultures that are willing to sacrifice the individual for the collective good, well, this missing in women, the Aboriginal women, and the murdered Aboriginal women, and the oppression of these it only happens because of people's beliefs in that fucking retarded ideology that whether it's the man, the woman, the child, that they're just sacrificial animals for the greater good. People aren't going to put as much of an emphasis of caring and nurturing or showing solidarity with people that they look at as expendable or disposable. That's the number one problem with communism, with collectivism, with forced collectivism, forced subjugation, is it takes all the people, other than those few people at the top, it takes the rest of you and it turns you into just disposable pawns for the greater good. So yeah, there's going to be murdered and missing Aboriginal women. There's going to be devastated communities living in just rancid, vile conditions. I've seen it myself. I have no ill feelings to anyone in the First Nation. Matter of fact, in any job I've had, when I drove cement mixer, I was one of only 2 guys in the concrete outfit that I worked for that was fully willing to deliver to the First Nations people the products that we sold, because I didn't care. I didn't have this racist background. It was never pounded in my head, and I never fell for it even when the people tried, to think that I'm supposed to hate other people that I've never met just because maybe their skin or ideology was different than mine. I'm the type of person that I judge by the person. Not what I'm told, not propaganda, not rumors, not rhetoric. I judge people based on how I see them, how my perceptions are of how they treat me and how they treat others. When I see that a lot of the people in the First Nations community were just great people, just awesome people, but just like most even white people and black people and Mexican and Spanish and all these, they're just duped into believing into their particular religion or ideology that's been pounded in their head from birth. So I don't blame the people. I blame those who pounded the particular narrative or ideology into their head. So yes, I'm going to tell you, I feel terrible for any of these First Nations people, women, children, men alike, anyone that has suffered as a consequences of forced subjugation, of forced collectivism, of communism, of collectivism, period. But I'm not going to delve into just trying to, the micro aspect just means that we can fight back and forth, because if I'm not in the particular, if I'm not privy to 100% information from all sides, I'm only going to be able to give you a subjective opinion regarding the particular topic or the particular, one-off situation, right? Which is why I'm more about the philosophical principles and looking at the macro pictures of things, because I don't want to give an opinion regarding something that I don't have 100% knowledge about, or regarding something that I can't give you a completely objective opinion. I would not feel comfortable doing that. But I can feel completely comfortable, feel completely at ease, no guilt whatsoever in telling you that it's the belief in mysticism, of forced subjugation, of collectivism, of sacrificing the individual for the greater good. That is what allows it all to happen. Having self-esteem, self-respect for the individual, each and every one of us, eliminates that potential. That's why I think it's vastly important, and why I promote the individual on a daily and regular basis. I hope I answered your question, Clint, and I do appreciate you asking. I know it probably, you were probably hoping I would delve deeper into the particular narrative set forth by certain individuals regarding the particular topic, but I just wanted to tell you, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing it because I'm just not privy to enough information regarding the topic to be honestly objective regarding the whole situation. But I'm telling you that in the big picture, it's what's up here that makes all the world of difference. It's Canadian Libertarian, and you just know I love liberty.